classification and taxonomy. Biologists use classification quite a bit. Biologists want to find categories for different things. If you find a new species, where does it belong? And taxonomy is the study of classifying things. So why are we going to talk about classification? Well, I'm going to introduce you to a couple of my friends, Mrs. Barzik and Mr. Maddox, two science teachers here at the middle school. I'm giving them a task. What I'm asking them to do is to sort cards into two different piles. And I want you to watch what happens when they sort their cards. All right, students, I'm here with my science teacher friends. This is Mrs. Barzik on the right, Mr. Maddox on the left. I gave them a set of cards. They both have the same set of cards, and what I'm going to have them do is I'm going to have them classify these cards. I want them to put these cards into different piles, and then they're going to explain to me when they're done what piles they split them up into. All right, how about it, you two? Both are working hard to try and figure out how they want to put these into different categories. Okay, so my teacher students are done putting their cards into categories. We're going to talk to Mrs. Barzik first. We're going to see what kind of category she created. Mrs. Barzik, what did you create?
All right, I went through a few different scenarios, but I tried to make fewer groups. So over here is everything that is living or came from something living. So you've got all your foods, you've got things that are, growing from the ground. We've got insects all the way up to a baby. Over here, these were all toys. Fire is all by itself. I didn't put that with anything else. And this is all nature.
All right, there's one way to categorize them. Okay, Mr. Maddox, how did you group yours?
So I started over here with peas, onions, potatoes, corn, bananas, and then I really struggled with mushrooms because these are all like fruits and vegetables or things that we grow that would belong to the plant kingdom. And mushrooms is a little bit different, but I did group it there because it is edible. It is something that we would find in nature and kind of grows out there. So that's one group. And you might be asking yourself, well, why didn't he put eggs and yogurt into the same category? Well, these two do not grow in nature. They come from animals. Eggs, obviously, from ostriches and emus, and yogurt from cows or goats or some sort of lactating creature. And so we have these animal byproducts.
1 hour later.
Then from there, I thought this was my next logical grouping. Jellyfish, horse, frog, spider, baby. These are all living, and that doesn't necessarily make them their own group, but they belong to the animal kingdom. And so that's separate from our funguses and plants. So there's our animal kingdom. And then cactus. We don't really eat cactuses.
2 hours later.
Sun. And I would say right here, the sun is the ultimate source of energy. And you'll learn more about that in 8th grade. But the sun creates the rain. When we don't have enough sun, we get icicles.
Much later.
Well, have you ever watched The Jungle Book? I mean, Man's Red Flower, right there, it came from lightning. Lightning struck the tree and then there was fire. So that was kind of a stretch, but that's where I ended up, and I put that there with the sun driving the weather events, creating lightning, and then fire comes from it. So those are the last group.
So there you have it, two different people's views of how these things should be classified. Now let's talk about why scientists classify in a certain way that they do.
Do you want to argue about this?
Both of those teachers had their own way of doing things. So today's lesson is going to be about classification and taxonomy and how scientists go ahead and classify things. You're going to learn something today called a dichotomous key and how a dichotomous key is used to sort organisms into the categories where they belong and how you can identify an organism using a dichotomous key. So first thing today, you're watching this video, you're almost done. You have the lesson video to watch, and then you have the activity to do later on and submit. All right, I hope you get a lot out of this classification and taxonomy lesson.